Hey everyone. So where we last left off, I set up a MongoDB account. This is so that we can store our post within this database, a NoSQL database. Make sure you mention that during your software engineering interviews. Now, what we're going to do is begin building upon this application. So let's get started. We'll need to set up a MongoDB connection so that we can set up an API route to handle our new post. How do we do that? I'll show you right now. First thing we're going to do is literally head over to MongoDB because they have boilerplate code for you. All right, so if you head over to database, excellent. Then you're going to head over to connect. From here, you'll see a set of instructions to install MongoDB, but we're just going to look at this code sample here. So let's copy this code base. We can paste it right in here. Now there is some things that we're going to have to change. This is nonsense, so we'll replace that with process.env _public _ MongoDB URI. Perfect. This should allow us to connect to the database. This is not the database we want to connect to. We want to connect to our database. Wait. Let me delete this and client.connect. All right, let's see how this acts. And this is how you will be testing your APIs in the backend. All right, so this did in fact go through. That's good. However, I want to make sure that I can in fact send information to this database. So let's go ahead and run a few commands on this. I'll say client. Hey everyone. So we're going to go ahead and send a post to our database. As of right now, our database is completely empty, right? We have a collection called post, but there is no document in there as of right now. We want to create a simple post. From here, we did create a variable for the database itself. So now I can say const post collection. And then lastly, collection.insert one. I'll create a post. I'll say title first. So I'll put this in and let's see if it goes through. Okay, so we did get a response back. Let's check the database. If we refresh. Excellent. So we now have a post officially in our database. Look how fast we created that API route. Hey everyone, here with Dr. Fullstack. So where we last left off, we created a MongoDB connection within this API route. How do we know that this is an API route? Well, it's in the API folder within the pages folder. We connected to MongoDB by importing the Mongo package. Then we utilize the URI that we currently have saved within our .env environment, .env.local. From there, we created a new MongoDB connection to the database that we created earlier. So if you don't remember the database we created earlier, it's right over here. We have a database called FSEasyDB. Then there we have a collection called post. Within the post collection, we're able to put documents, and the data that we were able to put in successfully was our first post that we're looking at here. Now, it actually wasn't a post request. We sent a GET request from Thunder Client. It's an extension that's available within Visual Studio Code and allows us to test our APIs. We could do the same thing with Postman. Thunder Client is right here within Visual Studio Code, so it seemed a lot easier. So at this point, if we send a request to this API route, well, we've created logic in here to respond to a request. The first thing that's going to happen is once it receives a request from a client, it's going to connect to our MongoDB instance. Then we're going to connect to the actual database itself. Afterwards, we're going to connect once again into the collection post. And last but not least, we're going to insert a document with JSON data. This is the JSON data that we've inserted. It's right over here in curly brackets. We have an object, and this is signified by the curly brackets. We have two key value pairs, all right? So we have title, first post, that's the title, and then we have body. And this is the content that we put in the body. This is just the console log that tells us, all right, great, this was successfully created. If we want to test this again, I can change this to second post. Okay. And now say this is the second post. And this time I actually want to create a time. So I'll say const time is equal to date.now. And if I head over here, I can add that key value pair. So I'll say time and set it equal to time. Upon sending this, we should be able to get the information we need. Right in the database, we should see a second post. So let's try that out. Thunder client, and let's send this GET request. Bam. So we did receive a response and a status of 200, which means things were A-OK. Let's check the database. Refresh. Wonderful. So we do in fact see our second post. Now, interestingly enough, I have time here, but it's a bunch of digits that we can't recognize, right? So how about we change that? This is actually setting up what's called UTC time. It's pretty much calculating the amount of time ever since 1970 up until now. And that's how computers keep track of time. We head back to our code base. Instead of date.now, I'm going to console.log the time. We can send a request. Now this time, instead of sending a request with the Thunder client, I'm actually going to send a request through the browser just to show you guys that every time you send, you put an address within this space here, we're literally sending a GET request. So let's go ahead and do that. If I say localhost 3000/API, and do you guys remember the name of that file? Post, right? So enter. Okay, so we do have an error here, which is it does not recognize my function because this is getting picked up as a number